Today, we're going to dive into the actual chances of a high school basketball player playing at the college level. Now, I know a lot of you moms and dads have dreams of your son or your daughter playing in college. But what if those dreams are becoming unfair expectations? So today, I'm going to dive into the actual numbers from the NCAA. And we're going to talk about how those expectations of yours might be affecting your entire family's basketball experience. And finally, I'm going to cover some options, some great options for those of you with dreams of your player going on and having a basketball college career. So let's jump in. Welcome to another episode of Hard Smart Together with Coach Dave. I'm Coach Dave, and today we are talking about the chances of both on the men's and women's side of high school basketball players going on to play at the college level. And so, I want to be clear of why this is important to look into, but I also want to be clear that this is not to discourage. This isn't to discourage the player who has dreams of playing at the college level, who has, families who have dreams of a scholarship. I had similar dreams. I'll share a very embarrassing story to kind of kick this off. When I was about, 14 or 15 years old, and I was a high school basketball player, and I was no means a star basketball player. I didn't even start on my high school team. But I had dreams. I had such, maybe at the time, they were unrealistic, but they were dreams, and dreams are good to have. They're great for players to have. But I'll tell you the embarrassing part is I thought that eventually when I got my license and I first got my first car, I wanted to have personalized license plates. And my personalized license plates, they were all planned out. They were going to be NBA space BND, NBA bound. I thought I was NBA bound. Now, every kid playing out on the playground, playing on a high school team, they have dreams and, they have, hours that they've spent alone hitting game-winning shots in the NCAA tournament or, playing as NBA players. Those dreams are great, they're valid, and I don't want to discourage those. But at the same time, we need to look at the true expectations that we set as coaches, as parents, for our players. And one of the important reasons to do that is to, embrace the time that we have during our basketball career. Now, I say I don't want to discourage, I want to encourage. In fact, Hard Smart Together is all about encouragement. It's all about encouragement of us helping our players improve and get better and have that improvement take them as far as they can go. Whether that might be the professional level, that might be the college level, that might be just making your high school team. That might be just embracing the time that we have in CYO or AAU or whatever the case might be. But I definitely want to encourage, because Hard Smart Together is all about improvement, getting better, and taking that journey together. But we really need to put in perspective some of the unfair, I say unfair expectations that we might put on players as parents, as coaches, as adults. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look here and share with you the exact numbers from the NCAA. It's going to put things in perspective, and then we can talk about those numbers and how it might affect our experiences with our players. So here's the hard truth numbers from the NCAA. In men's basketball, there are over 540,000, to be exact, 769 players at the high school level. Now, they have numbers that go 18,816 of those players will become NCAA college players at the men's side. So what does that mean? That means only 3.5% of high school players will go on and play at the college level, NCAA college level. So how does that break down? Only 1% are going to play at the Division I level. Another 1% will play at the Division II level. And it's a little higher, 1.4% will play at the Division III level. I'm a big fan of the Division III level. I played at the Division III level. I think it's a great option and a great experience, but we'll get into that another time. I could talk, maybe I'll talk an entire episode about the Division III level. But for today, I just want to break down these numbers. Now, what about the women's side? Women's side, very similar numbers, less high school players. They've got 399,067 players playing at the high school level. Now, how many of those will go on to play in the NCAA? 16,509. That means a little bit better than the men, but still only 4.1% of girls that are playing high school basketball will go on and play at the NCAA level. That means 1.3% will go on and play at Division I level. 1.2% will play at the Division II level, and again higher, 1.7% will go on and play at the Division III level. So let's put that the percentages are great, but I like to put it in better perspective as well. 1 out of 100 players on the men's side will play Division I, and only 1 out of 75 players on the women's side, girls basketball, will go on to play Division I. Most varsity teams, they've got, 10, 12 players on them. How many varsity teams to reach that 75 number or that 100 number? So it just kind of puts the numbers in perspective as to the actual chances of your son or your daughter going on to play. Now, that's not to say you might have a very talented, very great work ethic. Your son or daughter might be well on their way down that road. And again, this is not about discouraging. I love to work with those kind of players, but I also like to work with the players that are just going to enjoy their high school basketball experience or their middle school basketball experience. And so, I'm going to use a couple of stories. These are real life stories to kind of illustrate why these numbers are so important and how our perspective can get so out of whack. I was introduced to a mom, and this mom, she was a soccer mom. So it wasn't basketball, but soccer numbers, if you look at these NCAA numbers, which I can share with you, how to find them on the NCAA website, they're very similar for soccer, for basketball. This mom was talking about her player and how her player was going to get a scholarship to play soccer. I'm all in on hearing about their player. I love hearing about these kind of players. Like, really? She's going to go get a scholarship? How many offers has she gotten? Well, she hasn't gotten any offers yet. Really? Well, is she a starter? Well, she's not quite a starter yet. I said, okay, is she, but she's getting playing time on varsity. Well, no, she's on JV. I said, okay, well, she's a freshman? No, she's a junior playing JV, not a starter. And she's going to get a college scholarship. Now, you and I talking today, you might kind of chuckle at that, like, well, those are really unrealistic expectations. But these were the true expectations of this mom. And I'll tell you how real these expectations were. When I, in my blunt fashion, unfortunately, came out and told her, I'm sorry, but your daughter will probably never play in college, let alone get a scholarship. The chances are slim and none that she's ever going to even walk on. At that rate, she's a junior playing JV, not starting. She ain't getting a scholarship. Now, I should not have been so blunt, because the tears started from this mom and she walked away. she had wrapped her head around the fact that they were going down the path that her daughter was going to earn a college scholarship playing soccer. Now, I don't know if the tears were because she was running to the bank to see if she could pay for college, or if it just, blew her expectations. I think it was more, people can talk themselves into a lot of things, but I felt horrible after this. I just want to be clear. I felt horrible, but these are the kind of expectations that parents sometimes place on their kids. And I can only imagine the pressure for this daughter who didn't make her varsity team, who's not starting on JV, and there's these expectations that there's going to be a college scholarship in the works. Another example, I had a father who was, had a son playing basketball, and he was trying desperately to figure out what club team to get his son on, because he had this recruiting service that had a recruiting profile that he was putting together for his son. So he's spending money on the recruiting profile. He wants to have the profile just so, and he wants the right club, for his son to be playing on. And I started digging a little deeper with his father as well. And it was like, oh, so, your son must be, in the top tier of his club today. No, not the top team, a lower team. Oh, well, he's obviously the best player on that team. No, he's, Jimmy's the best player on that team. So he's currently not at the top tier of the club he's playing in. He's not the top player on his team. I mean, instead of worrying about like recruiting profiles and, things like that, maybe he needs to work on his game. Maybe you guys need to work together and get him back to that level. And I said to this father, I said, how many, AAU club programs do you think there are in the country? Oh, there's a lot. How many top tier teams in each AAU program? Oh, there's, top tier teams. And how many Jimmies do you think are out there that are the best player on their team? There's a ton of Jimmies. There's a ton of Joes, another talk. But, there's a ton of players that are ahead of, where your son is currently. But the expectations were, well, we've got to get this recruiting profile put together. We've got to get him ready to, be recruited by these colleges. His son was nowhere close to that. So again, not to discourage, but as a reality check, these are a couple of discussions I've had with parents in the past, and these might be hitting you kind of hard, like, oh, I might have some unfair expectations going on as well. Now where do these expectations come from? I mentioned this father was paying money to a recruiting site. It was putting together a recruiting profile. So, they're going to encourage, they're going to keep, sharing that dream. Club teams that accept money from players to play, and they make money off of that dream. Trainers. And there's nothing wrong with club teams, I'm not saying that, or club coaches or recruiting sites. There's value in all these things. But if you want an honest assessment of your son or daughter's playing ability, I know that you probably think that their high school coach is a real pain in the butt and doesn't know what they're talking about. But guess what? They're probably the most honest assessment of your son or daughter's talent there is. You know why? Because they're not making money off of you. They're probably not making a whole lot, if anything, coaching at the high school level. And so they're probably the best assessment of the talent. Some of those other folks, whether it's a club coach or a trainer or a recruiting service or a recruiting site, they need you to believe. They need you to believe that, hey, instead of it being 1 in 100 chances, or even 3 in 100 chances of playing at the college level, they need to flip-flop that. 97 out of 100 are going to go play at the college level. They need parents to believe that, and so that's the messaging that I think we hear for a lot of players. Now, again, I said I didn't want to discourage, but what does this mean for parents and players and their basketball experience? Well, you might be surprised, you might not be surprised. But the number one reason that any kid or player of any sport stops playing that sport wasn't fun anymore. So, sometimes these expectations, sometimes these unrealistic goals, they get in the way of the fun experience that your player is trying to have. And that you, as a family, can have the time you can embrace together, the time you spend together on the process of getting better, on the process of making that high school team, on the process of making the next level, making varsity, on the process of becoming a starter, on the process of just enjoying being a role player on the team. Whatever that process takes you, the process of getting better, that experience is really important to keep the fun in it. And so what I would say is, if your player does have a goal of playing in college, don't discourage it. Encourage it in every way you can. That's what this, like I said, this is what Hard Smart Together is all about, giving us as parents and coaches some tools that we can help our players get better and help them enjoy that journey. Now, you'll hear me almost every time I talk about the time that we spend with our players. Well, time's really important, and because we don't have a lot of time, really maximizing that time with our players are important. So again, I'll point out, there's a link at the bottom of this video to a free resource I make available. If you're looking to maximize the time that you're spending with your player, if you're looking to plan better workouts to help them improve more rapidly, be sure and download, my 6 steps for planning a better workout with them. You can download it at the link below this video. If you're listening on the podcast, it's simply www.hardsmarttogether.com/planning workouts. Planning workouts. So, I always talk about, resources for you guys, and that's a free resource. You can download some templates that'll get you started. You'll learn about those 6 steps that I think is critically important to planning your time together. But that's a way to encourage them, spending the time, teaching them, helping them get better, encourage them on that dream, but set realistic expectations as well. Now, when it comes to encouraging that dream, sometimes we get so tunnel vision on the only option is Division I. The only option is a scholarship. The only option is, playing. So what I think it's important is also to broaden your players' horizons and share options for them. First of all, these are NCAA numbers. So there's other areas that you could play college level basketball. This doesn't include community college. So maybe your player needs a couple of years of development. They could go on to a community college. They could then go on to one of the NCAA schools. There's NAIA schools. So there's options there. But there's a lot of options. You can't get so narrow-minded that I've got to have scholarship or bust. Just being able to walk on. I'm going to share a quick success story of a walk-on that I know of years ago at St. Mary's College. There was a player, Bo Levesque, who played at a local high school, De La Salle, in the area. He initially walked on at a local great program, St. Mary's College. He eventually earned a scholarship and had some great moments in the NCAA tournament. So he got significant playing time. The farther his career went, he got some significant, made some significant contributions in the NCAA tournament, made some great memories. And I'll tell you, today, that experience of going from, great high school program, walk on, growing his career, he's now a player development coach with the LA Clippers. So there's some options for, that doesn't include immediate scholarship. There's also some options if maybe playing is not in the cards. Maybe, your son or your daughter really want to go to a specific school and they're really talented at basketball and they could go on and play at community college for a couple of years and maybe earn a scholarship and maybe go on playing. They want basketball in their life, but they really want to go to a different school for a different experience. There's a ton of options for participating and having basketball in your life that don't include necessarily being a player or being a scholarship player. I'll give you some examples. You could become a team manager. And you might laugh about, well, I don't want to be a team manager, or I don't want my son or daughter becoming a team manager. But I'll tell you what, if I had to do it all over again and I didn't go the Division III route and become a player, and I happened to go to maybe a Division I school and I couldn't play at that level, I would have become a manager and I would have dove into the video side. Why? Because video analysis, and I'm going to talk about that a lot as we go forward, video analysis is so important for improvement. But as far as like if you want to have a great basketball career and a great basketball mind, become a manager for a team. Ask them, maybe at first you're just setting up the camera and shooting the game, or you're becoming part of a crew. Maybe at some point you're breaking down film. You're learning from the coaches. I mean, there is so much to be learned from video analysis. I think of Spoelstra at the Miami Heat. He's one of the longest term NBA coaches we have. He started as a video guy. So if I wanted basketball in my life, I'd probably become a manager and really dive into the video aspect of improvement, of game preparation, and all those types of things. And you can do that as a team of managers. Another one, if you just like to play, when we were at St. Mary's and I was on the women's side, we had practice players that would come in that were good high school men. We wanted our players playing against guys. So sometimes we had a team of managers / practice players that could compete against our women. Hey, they had a great time. We used to, play in the summers with them, open gym, play, and they'd come in for our practices for specific, things that we wanted to compete against men and stuff like that. But competing against men is another option for maybe you're a high school player and want to become a manager and go on to the women's side if you're a guy. There will be opportunities to participate and be part of that program. I mean, there's tons of opportunities to keep basketball in your life. Look at me here. I'm not a coach anymore. I don't coach a program. I'm barely a player anymore. I mean, I play, open gyms and things like that, but the pandemic is, this is during pandemic time I'm talking, and, that's really cut down on that. But I had a desire to keep the game in my life and to keep, to teach and to help players get better and help parents get better. And so here I am doing this, but this is, I still have basketball in my life. So there's a lot of ways to keep basketball in your life and not necessarily get that college scholarship, be that D1 player, be a starter, all those types of things. Basketball's been wonderful to me. I'm sure it's wonderful to your family. And so, but keeping in perspective, what are the chances of being that Division I scholarship athlete that starts and, wins the NCAA tournament? Great dreams. Don't make them unfair expectations. So now you kind of have the cold hard numbers, straight from the NCAA, what that journey to playing in college really is, what those numbers are like. What I hope it does, I hope it motivates those families that truly have that dream. I want to make it, so that you help those players that truly dream that to work harder, to work smarter, to work together, and to, for that to take them as far as possible. But I also want it, this discussion to kind of help those players that maybe just want to have fun, maybe just want to participate, maybe just want to be part of their high school program, maybe just want to be part of their middle school program. Help them and their families put this into perspective so that they can truly embrace and enjoy the experience together. That would be amazing if there was, more enjoyment of the game, because I think it's something that's missing for a lot of programs, of families, of players, of parents. I don't think sports are enjoyed as much as they used to be enjoyed. There has to be this, this grand master plan that gets you to that, college playing career, and it doesn't have to be that. We can, hopefully this helps set some of those expectations as well. So again, a couple of things. Be sure and download my free planning lesson and the planning templates, the link below. But also, I'd like you to leave a comment. I'd like you to leave a comment if these numbers were an eye-opener for you, if they were a surprise, if they put things in perspective, and how that perspective might help your time going forward with you and your son and daughter. And until next time, thank you for your time spent with me. Hope that this was helpful. And thanks, most importantly, for your time with your player, helping them play hard, play smart, and play together. See ya.